All right, so bring it up.
Well, you know, when you're out in the bushes, you're out hiking, hunting, camping, fishing, things like that, you need to be thinking all the time, and you need to be thinking about what direction you went, how far you're going, how far you plan to go. And, you know, you always need to plan in your mind that you're going to go about 15 miles further than you actually thought you were going to go. Why? Because you'll prep for it. You never know, you leave the vehicle, you know, and you're just going to take a 2-hour walk along a river. Well, you know, you might fall in the river or something. You might get washed a mile down the river before you get out of the river. You know, you're maybe disoriented, you might be hurt, you're cold, you know, you're soaking wet, things like that. You need things in your pockets that's actually with you that you can make a fire with, you know, a good stout pocket knife, some things like that. And, you know, if you do that in the summertime and it's light until, you know, 9 o'clock, 9:30, pushing 10 o'clock, you might be a little surprised how late it is in the day by how light it is. And so you need to be looking about shelters, you know, look for some dry area. I'm sitting on it's a wash up. It's a bunch of duff, sort of a flood situation. You know, and a guy could dig a hole in this, you know, if you didn't have some critters in there already. You might get a surprise, you push a badger out of there, you know. And but you need to be looking for shelter, somewhere for dry wood, things like that. You need a good pocket knife in your pocket. You know, if you got a backpack on, there's lots of stuff in there, but what happens if you get separated from it? You better have your fire starter with you, things like that. You know, look for something maybe that you could eat, you know, place to stay warm, place to make a fire. And just be aware, you know, if you're in a canyon, things like that. If it's flooding season, you don't want to be down too low. You could be sound asleep, you have a little bit of rain, you're not thinking about it. Next thing you know, you get 10 feet of water down on you. So, you know, you need to think about those things. You know, you need to wear substantial boots when you go. You know, a lot of people take off in just tennis shoes, and you can get in trouble pretty fast. It's pretty easy to get hurt out there, to twist an ankle. Low top shoes, you jump off a rock, that would be nothing. You twist your ankle real bad and you're 4 miles from your vehicle. You know, that's not a good deal. You know, so take a little bit of stuff with you. Be conscious of where you're going. Don't get into box canyons. You know, these days our weather is changing so much. We get hailstorms. You know, I'm from Wyoming, Cheyenne, and every year Cheyenne Frontier Days gets hailed out. You know, we get hailed and snowed on, and we'll get 2 or 3 inches of rain, and you know, and that's part of what makes Cheyenne Frontier Days. It gets quite miserable, actually. I can't figure out, honest to God, sometimes I wonder why people go through it. But, you know, it's just the fun, the camaraderie, the horses, the, you know, just the smell of a rodeo, you know, the animals, things like that. It's the food, the carnival, you know, it's world champion cowboys, you know, the rodeo life, talking to people that do that for a living. You know, but you just always need to be aware of your surroundings, where you're going, how long you're going to be out there, who knows you're there. You know, when you just stop along the road and you think you're going to go take a hike and then you get distracted, maybe you see a deer, an elk, you know, or you see a pile of rocks you want to get to, then you see a tree you want to cross, you know, on a river. Next thing you know, the little kid in us takes over and we get into trouble. We get into places that we didn't know we were going to be. And next thing you know, you are in trouble, and you might spend a day or 2 or 3 days out there. And that brings to mind one thing that I am going to talk about, and that would be this right here. That's called Sharp and Spark. And you know, it's funny, the guy that invented it called it Spark and Sharp. Well, I took a liking to that name, and next thing you know, I'm calling it Spark and Sharp. Its real name is Sharp and Spark. Okay? It's a real good combination. Now, you're not going to carry that in your pocket, and you probably won't even carry it with you. But boy, if you could have something like that I've been chopping on these trees with and stuff, that'd be a real blessing. So anyway, if you take your Sharp and Spark, which has on the top, or whatever you want to call it, I guess it's top, you have a V-notch, and that's a tungsten carbide. I call it a no bottom, you know, no way out, so to speak. You stick your knife in there, it's captured. You got very sharp corners just like it has right here. All right, so when you stick your knife in there and you draw it through there, which would look just about like this right here, you take your knife and you put it in there. You'd never hold it in your hand like this, but just to look at it, it'd look like this. And then you draw, and you can probably see it chattering, and that's stuck. So you got to be really careful about how you bring a knife through that V-notch. All right, the other side, which is actually what I call the open face. So if you have something flat, you grind it 90 degrees, you have two corners, one on the top and one on the bottom. And that's what I call the open face. You have the handle, okay, it's about 4.5, 5 inches long. And then in the handle, you have a part that unscrews. That's the black cap. You have your key ring, and that black cap is where the magnesium is stored. You have the end right there, screws in there like that, right in the handle, goes everywhere you go. What a fantastic survival tool. I sharpen 43 different types of blades with that right there. Your fire starter here, you can carve magnesium off of it, and then light the magnesium, or you can cheat just a little bit. Pick up a little tiny bottle of hand sanitizer. Why? It's 40% alcohol. That 40% alcohol lights like gasoline. So you take your kindling, get a little kindling up there, a little bit of dry stuff, take your hand sanitizer, squirt it down in there, give it about 5 seconds to soak in a little bit, and then all you need to do is just give it one good flick, like that. Another one. See the sparks? You get just one of those little tiny sparks in that hand sanitizer, you got a fire. So cheat just a little bit. Now here's something else you can do to cheat a little bit. Take a tuna fish can, okay? Take a can opener with you. When you get out in the boonies, you eat the tuna fish. Take some crackers, but don't throw the can away. Why? That's going to become my stove. What I do is I take that little tiny tuna fish can, and I take some kindling and I put it in there. I put a little hand sanitizer. I put one spark in it. Now I have a very small contained fire. And you know, you can cook food. You cook a rabbit over it, you know, a leg at a time or something. You can boil coffee, boil water. You can clean out your tuna fish can, drink water out of a stream. You can carry all kinds of things in it like that. But one of the most important things that you can do is even in your tent, you just take some sticks, you know, just take some things like this right here, a little bit more of it, put it on the tent floor, and all you got to do is put that little tuna fish can on the tent floor, on your sticks, build a little tiny fire, and inside my tent, I can have a fire, and I won't freeze my fingers. I can make some coffee, I can do a lot of stuff like that, just because I have that little tuna fish can. So, you know, you can use bean can, poke some holes around the bottom, bend the top, put your fire in there. It'll suck air through the bottom holes, but it won't put it out because the air can get out through where you bent the top of the can. You know, and that's pretty ingenious. So there's a lot of stuff that you can take with you that'll help you survive if you prepare just a little bit before you leave your vehicle, house, whatever you're going to do.